This is the story of men who looked like homeless drifters armed with broken scrap metal, not soldiers from a modern army. When a small group of Australian soldiers arrived in Vietnam, America's elite Green Berets did not just laugh at them. They openly called them dead men walking. And honestly, you could see why these Australians broke every single rule the United States military believed in. They took hacksaws to their rifles inside dark garages. They refused to bathe for weeks until they smelled exactly like the swamp. They carried very little ammunition and walked calmly into the most dangerous jungle on Earth. Pentagon generals exploded with rage. They said this was suicide. They said these amateurs would be erased within days. But 90 days later, those same American officers were begging these so-called hobos to save their lives. So what did just 120 Australians understand that the most powerful army on the planet completely missed? How did butchered rifles become deadlier than napalm? Why were the Viet Cong terrified of these jungle ghosts while American special forces kept walking straight into traps? Today, we open the classified files on one of the most embarrassing secrets of the Vietnam War. This is the story of how American pride nearly destroyed its best warriors and how a dirty garage-born tactic permanently changed warfare. Buckle up and do not click away, because what you are about to hear rewrites everything you think you know about modern combat by early 1968 America's most elite secret warriors were facing a nightmare that no amount of technology could solve. Intelligence officers whispered about it in secure bunkers, calling it the Prairie Fire Crisis. At the center of this disaster was the Military Assistance Command Vietnam Studies and Observations Group, known simply as MEC-SA-Z. These were the Pentagon's finest men, soldiers trained for years to strike like lightning, warriors decorated for bravery, carrying the most advanced equipment money could buy. Yet deep inside Vietnam's choking jungles, an invisible enemy tracked them with terrifying accuracy. Classified numbers circulated quietly through Saigon, leaving even hardened officers shaken. In the northern combat zone, reconnaissance teams survived an average of only 6 missions before catastrophe. Cross-border missions into Laos were even worse, with a 100% contact rate, meaning every patrol was detected stalked and attacked. Some SOG units suffered casualty rates exceeding 300% per year. Entire rosters were wiped out and rebuilt multiple times within 12 months. This was not war. It was a grinder chewing through America's bravest generation. Problem was brutally simple. Viet Cong and North Vietnamese forces could detect American patrols hundreds of meters away long before a single shot was fired. Training could not fix it. New weapons could not fix it. Sensors, night vision, and experimental gadgets all failed. The jungle itself was the enemy, and it punished every mistake. American doctrine was built around speed, firepower, and cleanliness. In the jungle, those traits became fatal weaknesses. A typical 6-man Sagu team carried over 400 pounds of total weight. Heavy radios constantly hissed with electronic noise. Long barrel rifles scraped against vines, producing sharp metallic sounds. Each man hauled hundreds of rounds, grenades, smoke, and explosives. Boots designed for cold forests crunched loudly through tropical brush. To the enemy, Americans sounded like a marching band. The jungle heard them long before they ever saw danger. One senior SOG commander later admitted they were sending extraordinary men into terrain that favored the enemy completely. The Viet Cong moved light, silent, and patient. They blended into the environment. Americans moved fast, heavy, and loud. Desperate fixes followed. Millions were spent on people sniffers, infrared traps, and acoustic sensors. Nothing worked. By March 1968, senior commanders quietly debated shutting down reconnaissance operations entirely in the hottest zones. The losses were simply too high. While generals argued strategy, another war exploded inside base camps. A war over soap, pride, and culture. American soldiers believed cleanliness was discipline. Before patrols, they showered, shaved, applied deodorant aftershave, and heavy insect repellent. It was a way to hold on to civilization in chaos. The Australians believed this was suicide. When the Australian SAS arrived at forward bases, they shocked everyone. Wild hair, unshaven faces, uniforms caked in mud and rot. The smell alone caused outrage in American mess halls. Arguments broke out, insults were exchanged. Americans called them animals. Australians called Americans easy targets. Their philosophy was simple. You do not fight the jungle. You become part of it 3 days before a mission. Australians banned all soap, shampoo, toothpaste, and scented products. Shaving stopped, diets shifted toward garlic and local spices to alter body odor. Gear was rolled in mud, crushed leaves, and charcoal. Human scent was replaced with forest smell. To Americans, this looked disgusting. To the jungle, it was invisibility. Consequences became undeniable. On April 15, 1968, a Green Beret reconnaissance team, codenamed Python, inserted into hostile territory, following doctrine perfectly. Clean uniforms, freshly washed weapons, heavy bug spray, Old Spice. Aftershave still lingering. They believed speed and firepower would keep them safe. That very cleanliness doomed them before their boots hit the ground. Their chemical scent drifted ahead through humid air, announcing their presence nearly 200 meters away. Viet Cong trackers detected it instantly. Mortar crews adjusted firing data using wind direction. Python moved forward blind, unaware they had already been mapped and surrounded. The jungle went silent. Birds vanished, monkeys stopped calling. The warning signs were there, but ignored. At exactly 14:10, the ambush detonated machine guns from both flanks. Mortar crashing into the center. The point man was killed instantly. The radio operator was wounded. Communications shattered. Extraction came after an hour of chaos. Only 3 survived, 2 were lost. No usable intelligence was recovered. It was slaughter, not combatless. Then an hour later, in the same killing ground, an Australian SAS patrol moved in. 5 men, moving at a pace so slow it looked insane. 20 to 40 meters per hour, radios off, minimal ammunition, rifles hacked shorter in garages. Bodies smelling like wet earth. They froze for long stretches, letting the jungle settle around them. Viet Cong patrols passed within meters. Unaware dogs failed to react. Nothing detected them. For 6 hours, the Australians observed. They mapped bunkers, machine gun nests, command huts, and supply areas. They took photographs. They recorded everything. Not a single shot was fired that night. One Australian slipped inside the enemy command area. He did not kill anyone. He stole critical documents and left behind a single empty beer can. When the enemy discovered it, panic spread. Operations stopped. Entire units halted movement for days, believing jungle spirits had penetrated their sanctuary. Psychological warfare without firing a bullet. This was not luck. It was a system. Patience, silence, and invisibility. Later, another Australian patrol ambushed a 40-man supply column using less than 100 rounds. They inflicted devastating losses without taking a single casualty. American doctrine required hundreds of rounds per kill. The Australians rewrote the math. The final proof came when a Green Beret team was surrounded by battalion strength enemy forces at night. Ammunition almost gone. Then, without warning, enemy machine guns fell silent. An Australian tracker appeared from the darkness. Having already eliminated the gun crews with single shots, he guided the Americans out through invisible terrain. Features no map recorded. Every man survived. Years later at Fort Bragg, a senior officer held up 2 rifles. A long-barrel M16 from Vietnam and a short carbine used by modern special forces. He told students the shorter weapon was no accident. It was the descendant of those hacked Australian rifles mocked decades earlier. The lesson was permanent. In jungle warfare, invisibility beats firepower, speed attracts death. Cleanliness can get you killed. Modern special operations manuals carry Australian-influenced Delta Force and SEAL teams. Train patience, noise, discipline, and terrain. merging because of lessons written in blood in Vietnam, those 120 dirty slow-moving Australians did not just survive, they humbled the most powerful army in the world and changed how wars are fought forever. So remember this next time you see someone who looks different, moves slower, and carries less. He might be the one who saves your life. Innovation always looks insane until it works.